Hey, here we are. We are live. All right. Good to see you all here, folks. And my name is Mr. Lagerway. I'm a cram streamer for A-Push here at Fiveable. I'm joined by Harrison Burnside and Dylan Black. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey. And they're some of our awesome students, and we're here to cover a lot of the general questions that you might have about the AP exams this year, the coronavirus edition. All right. So, this is one of many free Fiveable streams that we have going on here. Feel free to look at some of those in the next slide there, Harrison. But either way, we're everywhere that you are. Follow us if you want those notifications. That would be helpful. What we are doing tonight is we're going to try to give you some basic information right away. So that way, if you have questions, hopefully they're already answered. And then we're going to take you through some of the special exams because they're a little bit different. And then some recommendations that come from us as students and teachers trying to get with, hey, okay, what does all this mean? What does this mean for what I should do in the weeks going forward and on the exam day itself? And then, of course, questions and answers, mostly at the end. If things are unclear about what we're saying, feel free to throw that in the middle and in the chat, ask a question function down below. All of those things are fantastic things to use, but we'll save a lot of the big questions and answers at the end because we might answer them before we get there.
Note right now, if you ask a question in the question section, I'm kind of going through and responding right now if it's not like a major question that we'll cover later. So make sure you check the section if you ask a question, guys.
Awesome. We are tag teaming. All right. Let's go on to the first section then. So just in case you've been living under a rock or haven't been getting the emails and you haven't been able to see it recently, we have some announcements from the College Board. They are going to be online this year, and they're all going to be synchronous, as in they are going to be happening at the same time. Make sure that you're checking your local listings. I mean, sorry, this is not a TV guide, but seriously, though, they're all listed in Eastern Standard Time, so make sure that you're aware of when these are actually happening on your time zone, in your time zone. They're all online, 45 minutes long, 5 minutes to upload. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Remember, it's only FRQs. You might have some modified rubrics, so check the subject-specific streams of Fiveable. Check out some of the links that we have at the end of this presentation. It is open note and open book, and you may be allowed to Google things, but, and this, I cannot stress this enough, do not be copying things word for word. Always put it in your own words, and you should not be collaborating with anybody else. That also means not being on the same document as anybody else. If you take notes of somebody else, or you have like a whole class cheat sheet or something like that, make your own copy. Do not be on the same document as anybody else. That's a big no-no. They've already slammed people for cheating, so be careful. All right, let's go on to the next one. Just again, some general updates from the College Board here and what's going on. So this is essentially in chronological order of what you're gonna see. So the College Board is gonna send you an e-ticket to your students' emails. So make sure that your students, or you, if you are a student, make sure that your email is correctly registered on College Board. You can also find it on My AP in case you don't get the email directly, because a lot of people don't check their emails. It'll look something like this. This is the example from the College Board. It'll have your AP ID, and it'll have a link. If you ever get locked out or for some reason the exam isn't working, you can always re-click that, and it'll bring you right back to your particular one. Obviously, don't be sharing this with anybody else because it's a unique login or e-ticket for you and you alone. So that's what that kind of looks like. Scrolling down a little bit more, we have ourselves two different exam dates. But remember, if you don't use it, it'll automatically register you for the June one and send you another one. But let's be honest, the June exam is a backup. I would not plan on taking the June one because if you have technical difficulties during the May one, the June is your only backup. If your June one does not go well, you're hosed. So be careful, right? So a couple more clicks there would be useful. The June exam, if it goes poorly, you're done. Not good. A suggestion, make sure that you are logging in 30 minutes early, which is my next part of the slide, because first of all, you're gonna have to go through a bunch of security checks to make sure that you're the right person and you're not impersonating anybody else, but you just need to get yourself familiar with it. You don't need a lockdown browser, but you do need to make sure you're using a modern browser and not Internet Explorer. If you were, they would probably be like, hey, did you know that the exams are going to be online this year? Like May 15, because they're always behind the times, like the classic meme, right? They suggest Chrome, but of course, Firefox or Edge or things like that would work fine too. But make sure you've also disabled Grammarly. They mentioned that in some of the webinars for us teachers too. Disable Grammarly. It's an extension that helps to correct your grammar sometimes. It could interfere with the testing software, so make sure you've disabled that or uninstalled it completely. Okay. Then Also, make sure that you're using one device. Now, you may use multiple devices. I suppose if you have time, I wouldn't recommend that. But they have said the device that accesses the exam must be the device that submits your response. So if you're pulling up your prompt or your documents or your whatever sort of question they're asking, you must be submitting your things on that same device. That's what you need. So device accessing must equal the device that is submitting. A little bit more. Then once you log in, you go through all of that kind of stuff, you will see a visible timer. It's going to be built in with accommodations. So if you have like time and a half, it's going to be built in. If you have 100% extra time, it's going to be built in. And that visible timer is huge. We'll get to this more with recommendations, but that's why it's important to have that screen up and visible at all times. Now, when it comes to actually submitting and all that stuff, you cannot copy and paste the prompt, and you cannot type on the actual College Board page. You are able to view them, and then you are able to type somewhere else, but you are not able to type on the actual College Board website. You can print the prompts. You can print the documents if you have a document-based question or something like that. You may print them, but you cannot copy and paste. And then there's no typing on the College Board's exam page. So what will you do? How will it work? There are 3 different options for you. You are able to copy and paste a typed response. You are able to attach a typed response or attach photos of handwritten responses. The first one means you wrote it in Google Docs, copy, paste, you're all set. You can't type, but you can copy, paste. The bummer there is, of course, if you have an error that you realize later, you have to recopy and repaste, and that's annoying. You can also attach a typed response, more on that in a second, or you can take pictures if you wrote it by hand, although that might take a little bit longer. So what does that mean a little bit in more detail? Make sure that you have your initials and your AP ID at the top of your response. They've told us to do this for all of them. So put your initials and your AP ID that they will send you in that e-ticket email at the top of all of your responses, regardless of whether you're typing those, writing those, copying and pasting those, all of that. Keep going. If you do have 2 questions, some exams have 2 questions. So in that case, you need to have 2 different documents. So make sure you label them correctly so you know which one you're uploading. Yeah, Chromebooks would be totally fine for the exam. I'm seeing some questions about that. And then also you have a 50-minute a 5-page maximum. So don't be writing and writing and writing too much. Don't do like quadruple space for some reason. They have no limits on font or font size or font type, but choose a nice font that works well. That's a normal one, like Times New Roman, Helvetica, Arial, something like that. And then just do single or double space, whatever is more convenient for you. And then you should be good. Technically, you have 50 minutes to write and upload these exams. It's a little bit different. If you have 1 question, you have 45 to write and 5 to upload, but you may continue to write into that 5 minutes. So you could technically write for 49 minutes and upload for a minute. But, oh my goodness, be careful with that, because if you do not press submit by the time that 50 minutes is up, you're done. If you have 2 questions, you're going to write for 25, then upload. You have to wait. Then you have 15 to write and then 5 to upload again. So just in case you're one of those that have 2 different ones. Okay, keep going. Sander knows how to keep his style guide correct with Salazar for headings. Stay on Fiveable brand with work sans. Yep. So you have 5 minutes to start uploading. And what's nice about this is that if you start uploading, but you have a slow internet connection or something like that, it can continue to upload even if your 5 minutes have elapsed. You can still continue to upload. You may also copy and paste your essay. That works really well. You may upload different kinds of documents. You can upload docx, PDFs, text, or OpenOffice files. And then lastly, you may take a picture, but you have to submit that in JPEG or PNG file format. So be aware of that, especially those of you with like fancy iPhones that take like the high intensity images and things like that. You need to convert it down to like an old 2005 called They Want Their Format Back sort of thing. And you need to be able to upload it that way. Yes, no HEIC, exactly. Okay, then a little bit more, make sure you click submit. Even if you've uploaded it, you still have to click submit. If you don't click submit, it doesn't go in, and then you're kind of in trouble. So make sure you're doing that. And then lastly, if it's not in the testing guidelines, it is allowable. So you may use dictionaries. It doesn't say anything about that in the testing guide. It doesn't say anything about timers. You can have your own personal timer. You can have your mom, your uncle, your brother, your sister come in and say, hey, 5 minutes left, start uploading. I mean, don't have them bother you, obviously. But yeah, be careful with that. Sorry that some of these are getting covered up by our pictures. All right. So then afterwards, if something went wrong, you can request a makeup exam. There's the link to it there. Otherwise, just Google College Board makeup exam if something went wrong. And they're going to be very generous about that this year. So if for some reason your siblings are screaming in the background, your internet goes down, your computer crashes, you lose power, whatever, you'll be all set. You can request a makeup exam by May 24, and then you'll get a ticket for the June 1, even if you're not working well so far. Let's see. Cut scores will be determined after the grading. So if you're going to ask, like, how many points do I need to get a 5 in this subject? We don't know yet until they start grading them. That's how it works every year. Let's see. Then teachers are going to get copies of student responses. Then this is actually really nice. As a teacher, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to see all of my student responses. So this will be really nice. Get some feedback right away. Go over it the next day if we want to. And it'll also make sure. So if you take the May exam, teachers are going to get the copies of their students by May 26th. If you take the June exam, you are going to get your responses by June, I believe that is 30 at the end of June. Teachers are allowed to appeal scores. That's always been the case, but this year especially, they're like, hey, we get it. It's one question. It's not that representative. So if for some reason you're like, hey, I thought a student did better than this, there's some appeal process. Stay tuned for that if you're a teacher. And then for everybody, scores will be delivered about a week later than usual, starting about July 15. Usually it's about July 7 or so, but this year they'll be delayed about a week, and then you'll get your score. Remember, you just get a 1 through 5, no later than the week of July 15, and that kind of stuff going on. Okay, that's all the general. Let me turn it over.
Okay, so hi, I'm Harrison Mernside. You guys might recognize me from APES or AP Human Streams. Make sure you guys, I'm going to be doing cram passes for both of those subjects for the 5-hour stream that Amanda talked about in the Olympics. If you don't know, go watch the replay on that soon. But I'm here to talk about the special exams. I know we said we weren't going to do subject-specific stuff, but there are some really special guidelines that the College Board has given us about a few different exams. So for AP Music Theory and for all AP Languages and Culture exams, you guys have a ton of special exam instructions. Are there any AP Music Theory people in the comments? I'm taking AP Music Theory too. Any AP Spanish Lang? Anybody? So for AP Music Theory, this one is special. For question 1, you have to take a picture. You have to use your phone for the exam or something that, can take a picture. Like my Surface has a back camera, so I can take a picture on that. You have to download the staff paper ahead of time. There's going to be a picture that's going to pop up in a little bit, actually. Right there, that's what the staff paper looks like. But even if you have a device where you can write on the PDF or something, you have to print it out. You must print it out. No exceptions for that. And then question 2 is going to be sight singing. So with that, you're going to have an audio recording app. The College Board recommends just voice memos on your phone. If you have it, or if you have an Android, you can download something from the Google Play Store. But you need to have an audio recording app, and you're going to have to pause it in the middle of your response to record the next one. I won't go too much more into depth, but you kind of just need to know that you have to have those 2 different things for the exam. For AP Languages, you're going to have to use your phone for this exam as well, and you're going to have to download the WLEA, the World Languages Exam app. So the World Languages Exam app is going to be released soon. The College Board said by May 11th, which is the day before AP exam, so I really hope they do it sooner, but they said by May 11th. It's available in the App Store and Google Play Store, and yes, I am an AP Music Theory in the chat, but it's not available on the Kindle Fire store, so you can't use your Kindle Fire or your Amazon phone, if those even still exist, to take the exam. Before you take the exam, you're going to have to log in early and do the security checks, but you're also going to have to do a microphone access check. So what that means is they're going to have a word. I think they said it's just going to be like pineapple, I am what I am, something like that, where you're going to have to record yourself saying something so they know that your microphone works. So I don't believe that Spanish Lit is included in the World Languages and Cultures. That one is going to be a literature and culture, so that's a different exam. Dylan says it has an essay, and I definitely believe that because that's what I read too. If you want more info on the different requirements for each exam, I can put it's on the exam schedule page that I can put in the chat right now. Except I put 2. There we go. So for the languages and culture, not including AP Latin or AP Spanish Lit, you're going to have an interpersonal speaking assignment and a presentational speaking assignment. Now, your teacher should have gone over those in your classes, so you're going to have to connect with your teacher if you don't know what interpersonal or presentational means, or you can also check on that link that I put in the chat. All right. In the chat, I'm not currently taking an AP language. I'm in pre-AP Spanish, like honors, but like we don't have an AP language track at my school, so can't take it. That's basically it on special exams. I don't want to take too much time on subject-specific stuff. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to walk you guys through the AP exam demo. So what does that mean? So today the College Board officially released the AP exam demo. I'm going to have to share a tab with you guys here if it works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We're hoping that it works. If Caleb can make the screen full for me so I can go through this with you guys. So if you go to that link, that's cb.org/AP demo. It's going to bring you to this page. So I can type in the link for you guys if you want it again, cb.org/AP demo. And you're here. You have to enter any 8-character AP ID. So this can literally be any random combination of letters. So let me just pick 8 random letters here. And then after you type in 8 characters, you're allowed to hit continue.
By the way, let me just say, make sure that this works for you. If you can't see this and you can't get in, that means your current browser setup is not going to work for the actual exam. So definitely be testing this out yourself after you watch Harrison do this.
Yes, so after the stream, I definitely recommend you go to that link. Again, if you need it, it's going to be cb.org/AP demo. Write it down, something. It's pretty easy to remember, but still. So after you get to this page, you're going to have to fill out some personal information. You can make it up if you want to. I'm just going to say, hi, I'm Bob. My birthday is January 1st of, year 000. My email address is going to be hi@hi.com. Make up whatever you want. Don't do something inappropriate because College Board can track your IP address, but, I'm testing from home.
Also, obviously, on the real test, you're not going to be putting in fake information. You're going to get I believe it's 2 days before the test, you're going to get an email with that code, right? You're going to put in your actual 8-digit code, your actual name. What this is right here is like the equivalent of, if this isn't your first AP or SAT or whatever, this is like the equivalent of like the pre-gridding that they do before the exam, just obviously much easier. So, so when you're doing this, obviously make sure you put your real information, especially because if you don't put the right information, they could have some problems getting your scores to your College Board account.
Yes. Also, when you're putting in the right information, double check your date of birth. Date of birth is really easy to mess up, especially when you put in the year right here. So be careful with that. And also, if you scroll and you're on this click bar, it can change your results sometimes. Like you can scroll down and scroll through those. You don't want to do that. Make sure you double check all this information before you hit continue. And this box right here. So on your AP exam, there's always something you can bubble if you don't want the College Board to use your free response materials like on the website, like the bad FRQ, the good FRQ, like all of the sample grading responses. If you click this box, they don't have the right to use it. College Board does still own all of the work that you do on the AP exams, though. You do not own that, so be careful of that. So I'm not going to grant College Board the right to read this. So once time expires, you will not be able to go back to this question. So I've actually had this tab open for a while so I can show you. So I only have 3 minutes left to submit my work. So basically, question 2 has already begun. So this demo will take you through question 1 and 2. If you put in like something, I clicked some buttons to where it'll only do question 2 for me. But this is how it's going to look. So you have 10 minutes to craft your response, then 5 minutes to submit it. So you have the submission guidelines with the 3 formats you can submit it in. And then this is what your prompt is going to look like, but it's actually going to have a prompt. Instead of having the, take 5 minutes to create a demo response, include your AP ID. If you're handwriting, do this. Do all of that stuff. So that way you'll be able to. And it even has a note here for world language students is, you're on the wrong page if you're on this website. Go to the WLEA app. So let's just say I'm going to copy paste my response. So I'm going to have to copy paste it from another tab. So I'll just type in hi. Oh, actually, I'll put in my AP ID of those random characters that I chose earlier. Then my name, my initials, which are going to be my first name, Harrison, H, Burnside, B. And then I'm going to type my response. Hi, this is my exam. So
that when you're taking your exam, you can, if you want to copy and paste, you can use any text editor that you want. So you can use Google Docs, OpenOffice, Word. For all I care, you could write it in a PowerPoint slide. Like it doesn't, it's just that when you go to copy and paste it, you want to make sure that it at least is formatted, at least kind of how you want your reader to see it. So if you, let's say you're writing like an essay for Lang or Lit or APUSH or World, whatever. you want to make sure that you're not just handing them maybe like a block of text, especially if paragraph structure is important to your essay. And you can format it a little bit by, obviously doing enters and stuff like that. Brianna, you do not have to copy and paste. There are two other options. So you have the option to submit like a docx or a PDF, which would, if you typed it, then you could just download the file. Or you could, if you were using a phone, tablet, I believe it does require you to use some sort of phone or tablet for this option, but you can take a picture of your handwritten response and submit it for each question. I just know I just have to figure it out for myself for my own tests. There's some sort of finickiness with what devices you can use for that and stuff like that. So yeah.
And obviously it's going to be a little bit specific to each subject. Some subjects you have, like music, you have to write because you have to have that staff paper. Some of them with a bit more math perhaps or something like that, you have to write. But if you're in a humanities-based one and you don't just, hunt and peck, I'd recommend typing just because it's way faster. And personally, I would recommend the copy-paste method because that way you don't have to deal with weird uploading. It's a lot faster. And you can use Google Docs, which they're recommending from the College Board too, partly because it auto-saves all the time. Now, obviously, if your internet is sketchy, maybe do it on Word just to be safe and save all the time. But yeah, I recommend typing over handwriting basically any day, unless you're really slow at typing and really quick at writing.
Yeah, and later in the stream, we're going to talk about the different math keyboarding tricks that the College Board has published and talking about something called LaTeX, I believe. But before this clocks me out, because something when you're doing these AP exams online, when you're uploading or copy pasting, if you don't hit this yellow submit button by the time this gets to 0, it will not submit any of your work. Like even if you have all of your stuff in this text box and there's 1 second left, it will not let you submit. So I'm not going to even try that right now. I'm just going to hit submit, 5 seconds left. You're going to want to get this response when you complete your exam. If you don't see your AP exam, not the demo, your AP exam is complete, you have submitted your response, you need to go request a June makeup date saying, I did not get my completed response page. You need to say that or, it's not going to be a good thing for you because then your response isn't going to be submitted to the College Board.
Harrison, just to confirm, Harrison, when you were copying and pasting, you were using the keyboard shortcuts, correct?
Yes.
Have you been able to do the whole right-click copy-paste thing, or is it only keyboard shortcuts?
Only Control-C and Control-V work for that. Okay,
good to know. We had some people asking in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's worth noting in terms of like talking about reliability with networks and whatnot. If you have a situation where, let's say your computer crashes or dies during your test, it doesn't mean your exam is over. If you log back into your computer, go back to that email with your link and your 8-digit code, you'll probably have lost some time. I don't know if they freeze it for you or whatever. I'm pretty sure you will lose some time. And I guarantee you that is grounds to ask for a retest. But if you want to go back and still submit, you can log back in and resubmit your answer if you want to. It's just I'm sure then submitting that answer probably would bar you from a retest. But you can request a retest as well if your computer crashes, internet crashes. I believe even if like you have a situation where if you have, let's say, an infant at home or dogs that bark a lot or something, I'm pretty sure if there's a situation where it's that distracting to the point where you can't take your exam, because I mean, I can imagine I have a pit bull at home, so if she goes crazy every 10 minutes, I'm going to like force my parents to take her for like a walk when I take my exams. And so if you're at home and there's something that's genuinely distracting you to the point where it could affect your AP score, it couldn't hurt to even request a retest. The worst thing the College Board can say is, I'm sorry, but we can't get a retest for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you have internet outages, I would recommend not submitting your May response because the College Board has 3 exams at once for some of these makeup times in June. You can Google we can link the AP College Board, exam schedule again. But for the makeups, there are 3 AP exams at one time. So, you kind of have to make sure and check that schedule before you go request a retest. And because there's so many exams at one time, the College Board wants to limit the number of people there. So, you don't want to submit it because the College Board might come back and say, no, you can't have a retest. You've already submitted your response. You're done. You've taken your AP exams this year. See your score on July 15th. They're trying to limit the number of people in June. Don't submit it if you've had responses the whole time. Oh, thanks for linking the, schedule. But I think that I'm done with my section now, and it's time for Dylan to start talking.
All right. So just kind of over the next, I think the rest of the presentation is just some general exam recommendations. A lot of these are things that you might hear even if we weren't in this situation right now. First things first, that applies to these online exams. be sure to confirm your College Board contact info. You can do this through, if you go to myap.collegeboard.com or .org, same place where like AP Classroom is, all that kind of area. And you go to like something, it's like something called My AP Profile or whatnot. You can go through and see that it has your name, your birthday, your email, your phone number. I'm pretty sure you can put a parent's email and a parent's phone number there too. But just go in and confirm that that is the right email, because that is the way that the College Board is going to be connecting with you, whether it's contact over your exams, over updates, scores, anything. It's all going to be through email. And so you have to be sure to make sure that that is all correct, or else there is no way for them to send you your exam stuff. So yeah. In terms of just before the exam, right, this is obviously an unprecedented situation. This is something that people, I don't think there's ever been a year where we've had to straight up cancel AP exams like this for everyone across the world. Not cancel, but you know what I mean? So before the exam and even the night before, take a deep breath, know that you aren't defined by a number. Even if you could have gotten a 4 and you get a 3 on this one, even if you could have gotten a 5 and you get a 4 type of thing, the number that you get that day does not tell anyone anything besides, here's how I did on these 2 questions however long ago. It doesn't tell you, if I get a 2 on AP Calculus, that doesn't mean I'm bad at math. It means I kind of did poorly on these 2 questions. So don't think about these exams so heavily in terms of a personal aspect. They're important. They're important exams and you should be trying your best, but do not turn if you have a rough time on an exam, don't turn that into a personal attack on yourself. Because I've seen it happen. Hell, I do it to myself, where I walked out of my AP Chem exam last year thinking I completely screwed up on a free response question, and I spent the whole rest of that day just beating myself up. So if I get a 5, would that be something I should be proud of? Oh, absolutely. If you get a 5, it's definitely something to be incredibly proud of, and you've clearly worked incredibly hard for it. I'm just saying that if you don't get that 5 or the 4 or even the 3, it doesn't say anything about your worth as a person, right? Going back to these online exams, I know Mr. Logaway said this, log into your exam 30 to 45 minutes early. The worst thing you'll have to do is sit there and wait for 10 minutes, because you'll be required to go through a protocol for security. There is going to be a typing thing. I'm sure the College Board actually has said on multiple occasions that they're not going to tell us what they're doing, because they know that then there's going to be that one kid who breaks into it and ruins it for all of us. And so, but I think from what we've heard, they are most likely going to be using your webcam to watch you at some point, recording your screen, I think, recording your mouse movement. It's kind of freaky, but of course, in terms of exam amortization and whatnot, they need to have those security measures in place. So be sure to join your exam a little bit early. And then as a fourth note, just be confident in yourself. I always tell this to my friends who are freaking out over AP exams, right? If you walk into, I'm sure it's actually been scientifically proven that if you walk into an AP exam, no matter how much you know, and you think to yourself, oh my God, I'm going to fail, you are going to psych yourself out. There's 9 out of 10 kids, if you walk into an exam and you say, I'm not going to do well, you aren't going to do well. Conversely, if you walk into your exam and you say, I'm going to kill this, I'm about to kick this test butt, even if you don't know that much about the subject and you're not confident in your skills, if you walk in and even tell yourself, I'm going to kill this, right, you are probably going to significantly improve your score just mentally through, you aren't going to psych yourself out and stress yourself out over, oh my God, this is the point where I go from a 4 to a 3. Oh my God. And of course, it's normal to freak out. I'm freaking out. I'm sure Harrison's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. We're all freaking out together. However, confidence is key. Even if there was a study I read where it said that people who even fake smiled were notably happier. This concept applies here, right? If you walk up to your desk or up to your laptop and say, I'm not going to do well, you might not do well just because of your mental state. So yeah, be sure to go in with a positive attitude, good breakfast, especially if you're on the East Coast, you can get a good breakfast, get a good rest day in. Yeah. So yeah, that wraps it up for that slide. Harrison, or whoever's running the slides.
Yeah, that'd be Harrison.
Sorry about that.
He's off doing Olympics. He's trying to score more points during the stream.
Excuse me. So,
couple other questions. Gosh.
A couple other suggestions, recommendations, right? I'll go into this a little bit more in depth later, but notes, right? I feel like I had this reaction everyone did when they heard I can use my notes. They immediately went, I'm going to get a 5 because I can look up everything in my textbook. they have designed this exam such that these questions are not, regardless of subject, these questions are not going to be identification based, right? If you are taking AP World, they're not going to say, name one example of an empire that did blank. You know, they're not going to ask you in AP Calculus to do just a calculation question. Everything on these exams is going to be applying the knowledge you know. And of course, that requires knowledge of the definitions and the stuff, and it might still help, but it will not be a thing where you can look up the definition in a textbook and say, you know, click, 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 5. And they know that students are going to have notes. And so they've designed the exams in such a way where actually, if you have piles of notes that you're sorting through for the entire exam, it is actually not going to help you, and it might waste your time, because 45 minutes is not a lot of time. So especially for some of the essay-based exams, 45 minutes is basically just as much time as you get on the real exam with no notes. So yeah, it's going to be things you can't Google. You're not going to be able to, you can probably still get like an evidence point from Googling something, but it won't be to the point where it'll make or break your score, and it won't be to the point where it would be worth the amount of time that you spend on it, right? And so moving into that, if you can't use your notes or everything, how am I going to prepare for this exam, especially in these next, exams actually start exactly a week from today? In terms of studying, and I say this to everyone that asked me, whatever time of year it is, you want to study what you suck at, right? If you know that in APUSH, you are terrible at the Gilded Age and Progressive Era, I'm calling myself out here, I suck at the Gilded Age and Progressive Era, that is what I cannot, for the Progressive Era, I cannot for the life of me. But anyway, study that, right? I'm really good at the Civil War, right? I consider myself, that's one of my strong suits. And so as much as I would like to, I'm not going to sit there and study the Civil War, right? Same thing goes for something like econ. If you're really good at perfect competition, study monopolies instead, stuff like that. Because when you study what you're bad at, well, it's going to be harder, obviously. It's what's going to help you in the long run, because then if you get what you're bad at on the exam, you are more likely to do well, rather than, oh, I spent all my time studying on this stuff that I was already really good at, right? And then as a final point, right, and this goes for paper exams, online exams, practice, 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 right? Practice makes perfect. And in this next week, now that exam simulator is up, right? Try typing your DBQs, writing and submitting math assignments with pictures, right? I'm trying to think of other exams, right? Try, maybe practice typing your math out, anything. Because now is the time, to get messy, make mistakes, right? Because if you screw up on something now, it might, listen, you might get a worse grade on an assignment. You might have a little moment of shame, but then when you go to take the exam, you remember, oh man, I tried typing this, question, these calc questions, and it took me 80 minutes to finish these questions. Now okay, so I'm going to be handwriting my questions rather than testing it out the day of your exam. So practice, 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 not just for getting the content down, but for getting the format down, so you're comfortable taking this exam. So yeah. All right, some final tips. So when you're taking the exam, right, either if you have multiple monitors, take advantage of it. I personally do not, unfortunately. But if you don't, you can split your screen into 2 halves. So you can have like the prompt here. I'm trying to look at my camera here. The prompt here, your Google Doc open here, and you can keep your eye on the timer while you're actually looking at it. Thank you. Anyway, so you want to keep an eye on the timer, right? Because with 45 minutes, time will get away from you really, really, really quickly. And so you are really able to slip away and just keep writing and forget to submit. So keep that tab open so you can keep your eye on it. But conversely, don't stare at the timer. I am so guilty of this during tests, where all I'll do is write down a letter and then look back up at the clock and keep doing that. That actually is worse for you than better. So, maybe if you're writing your AP Lang rhetorical analysis, right? Every paragraph, take a look at the clock, or every time, every couple paragraphs, take just a quick gander at the clock to see, oh, I need, oh, I only have 15 minutes left and I have another paragraph. I should try to wrap it up really quickly, as opposed to, every sentence, oh, I have 15 minutes and 30 seconds, 15 minutes, 14:30, because that will not only lose you time actually in the long run, but it will stress you out, because it'll almost become like that. You'll hear action movie music in your head, and it'll start being like Mission Impossible, where you're defusing a bomb or something, where it's so stressful because you're always watching the clock. So that's something where you want to keep an eye on the clock, but in moderation, right? You don't want to make the clock your life. And then also save frequently. I know there's going to be someone who complains about this year. There's going to be someone who they have written their whole essay and then Word crashes. And of course you can get a retest. However, if you can avoid that, do it, right? If even if you've written half your essay and you save it and you lose a paragraph or something, it's better than losing the whole thing. So save. So yeah.
Yeah, I did have one more note I wanted to add before we went on to the next slides. We say like example Word or Pages, but if you use the Pages app, make sure you export it as a accepted file. I can go back to that slide if I can find it, but we said like the accepted form,
PDF,
docs, PDF, text, or open Word document, open Office document. Sorry, like it might be those docs.
I would recommend probably PDF if you can, solely because it's just the most secure, most like just. I prefer PDFs because they almost feel like that official, like, you can't edit PDFs easily. It's like, this is my creation. You can obviously, if you're comfortable submitting it as a docx, you're more than welcome. But I prefer PDFs. I don't know. That's just me mentally. So yeah. Also, Naomi, I'm with you. I am so beyond done with AP. Oh, and the thing is, I'm taking 6 exams, right? But 2 of them are submission to the College Board. I'm in research and computer science. And so I not only have this situation to deal with, I have all the other things they've done with those exams to worry about. So it's like, I'm sure if there's anyone else in the chat who's taking seminar research, computer science principles, and AP Studio Art, something like that, they can empathize with the digital portfolio. It's a mess.
Well, and that's why, like we said, self-care is so important, right? You hear people that are in the chat and they're like, I'm literally dying, even though they mean figuratively. But like,
oh yeah.
You're not going to score a 5 if you're stressed out, you can't eat, or you're overeating and you're not sleeping, right? So, I mean, we're going to be here for you for the next month or so at Fiveable, right? We got all the streams and all the trivia Olympics in the world, but at the same time, all that won't help you if you're not eating, sleeping, and taking a nice walk and cuddling with your dog or whatever, right? So you can do this, but self-care is important.
If you were in the like Olympics opening ceremony thing, you heard me say this before, but if you stay up for 4 days straight and don't eat, don't drink, stress yourself out, and you walk into the exam, you are not going to be able to perform like you would if you had slept 8 hours. And of course, this is a stressful week, a stressful 2 weeks, right? And I'm not going to say that it's going to be fun or it's going to be, you're going to get 10 hours of sleep and be resting all the time. But if you walk into the test and you like haven't slept and you haven't eaten, you aren't going to be in the right mental state to take the exam. And I've been there. The night before my AP Chem test, I pulled an all-nighter and I died during that test. I still managed to do well on the test, but I seriously crashed pretty much right after the FRQs. It was bad. It can be a real, relief, but take care of yourself. At the end of the day, think about it this way. In 5 years, are you going to be talking about how you got a 5 on X exam? No, it doesn't. It doesn't define you as a person. And that's not to say you can't work hard, but you have to take care of yourself.
All right, so we're going to move on. I think that this is one of the last slides here, so we're about to get ready for some Q&A.
Am I taking this one? All right. So tips for open notes, right? Open notes is a very interesting concept to me because I feel like a lot of students see it and they think all the answers are right in front of me. Depending on the situation, maybe, but this is a situation where no. Notes, actually, in my opinion, I'm going into these exams with 0 notes myself. And that's because notes will waste your time. Unless you have the most perfect note situation, it isn't going to help you significantly, right? You want to have your notes, if you do have notes, you want to have them organized by unit, right? Because then because I feel like everyone mentally knows what unit content belongs in. So if you have it, organized, you can just go, here's my unit 4 notes, right? However, the notes, and what I find interesting is that the notes aren't going to make or break your exam, right? Again, I'm going into these exams with 0 notes. And that's because if you don't know the material, you are not going to be able to apply the material, meaning you aren't going to be able to succeed on the test, right? That's not to say that notes can't help, but they are not going to make or break. They're not going to be the reason that if you otherwise would have gotten a 2 on the exam, you're now getting a 5. That's not true. They might take you from a 2 to a 3, sure, if there's that one evidence thing or that one little point that you can exclude or include. However, it is not going to be the reason that you fail. It's not going to be the reason that you pass. It is something that is a very extra thing that the College Board pretty much, I think they only included it just so they wouldn't have to worry about tracking students like browsing during the test. I think that's the only reason why. If you know how to use your notes properly, go for it. Be my guest. Have your giant packets out. However, with 45 minutes, if you're spending 10 of those minutes, scrolling through your textbook, looking for notes, and then reading, it's a waste of time. However, of course, point 4, know what's best for you, right? Again, if you know that you can skim through your textbook and get there in 10 seconds or less, do it, right? Go for it. But if you are going to spend 15 minutes reading a chapter of your textbook just to remind yourself of some content, it's not worth it, right? And so that's why
you use
you
the index.
Sorry?
That's why you use the index of your textbook.
Yeah. I only started using indexes in textbooks in like 9th or 10th grade, and I'm a junior now, and it's so perfect because my A-push textbook is like more than 1,000 pages long, and it's organized so weirdly that it doesn't go chronologically always. And so if you just flip to the back and you go to the index, you can find stuff pretty quickly. But yeah, don't waste your time. Don't rely on your notes, but use them smartly. That's a word. Intelligently. I don't know. Words are hard.
Dylan, can I add one thing real quick?
Of course, yeah, go ahead.
So one recommendation, I read this fantastic book, I think it was last summer, called Make It Stick, and it's all about the science of learning. And if anybody wants to read that at some point, I can't recommend it highly enough. Really easy to read. It's written by both a psychologist and a narrator kind of guy. So it's really well, but it's called Make It Stick. And if you just read even the intro, it'll give you sort of the science of learning. And one of the things that they say that Dylan's actually been saying quite a lot is you have to be able to study the things that you don't know. And the harder you work to remember it, the better you remember it later. So they do what's called active recall is what they recommend. That means don't just read through your notes and be like, yep, got it, yep, got it, yep, got it, yep, got it. Constantly be self-quizzing yourself. And if Dylan's struggling on the Progressive Era and the Gilded Age, he makes some flashcards with a bunch of those vocab words, and he has to quiz himself, and he goes over it over and over again. But then he also spreads it out. You want to make sure you spread it out too. So when you're reading over your notes, even before the exam, don't just be rereading them and highlighting them, and condense them, obviously, if you can. That's always a good strategy. Quizzing yourself constantly be asking yourself about connections that you can make. Oh, does this relate to that other concept we learned in the previous unit? Something like that. The more that your brain is engaged while you're studying, the more it remembers things later.
All right, are we done with open notes now?
I think that's pretty good.
So now we're on to the Q&A period. So there's some things in the chat that I'm just going to address first. I'll just take a few things first. So a lot of people have been saying, oh, I want free cram passes from Fivable. Oh, I have one for Euro, but I need one for Bio really badly. Things like that. Visit us on social media. We give away free cram passes on social media all the time. Like pro tip, comment on all of our posts, like all of Fivable's posts recently, not things that are from a month ago, but recently we've been giving away a lot of free cram passes, especially on Instagram. So definitely catch us there if you can. And then also another thing. Oh, yes, we're putting more on TikTok too, probably. Somebody said in the chat, if you're using Google Docs, voice typing is enabled. Also, autocorrect and stuff is available too. That's okay if you use that as long as it's not a Chrome plugin, because in Google Docs, voice typing is a lot of times the Chrome plugin for it, and that will not work if you try to submit your exam with that. Also, when you use voice typing, it's really inaccurate a lot. Honestly, if you're not good at typing, I would just recommend writing. Type it. Don't rely on voice typing, because also voice typing doesn't catch your cadence sometimes, which means that whenever you end a sentence, it doesn't actually end the sentence. So you're going to spend 15 minutes actually editing your responses, putting periods, commas, so your AP reader can actually read what you're trying to say. And you really speak in a conversational tone a lot. So honestly, if it was me, I really wouldn't rely on voice typing. You can, but I would not do it if I were me. You were.
There was a really good question. Julie, really imagine sending an AP Lang essay with just 0 periods, question marks, period, commas. Anyway, I saw a really good question before in the chat, and I really wanted to answer it because I don't think we covered it weirdly enough, right? Natalie asked, really, what counts as cheating on the exam, right? If it's open notes, and if it's, if I can Google stuff during the exam, what counts as cheating? I think, Mr. Lagerway, you mentioned this briefly earlier. The one thing you are explicitly not allowed to do is talk to other students. Anyone, actually. You're not allowed to talk to anyone. You are not allowed to be collaborating with anyone during the test, whether that means being on the phone, talking to them through text, Snapchat, taking pictures of the exam, sending them your work, using a shared Google Doc. Hell, you'll probably get caught if you talk to them through Club Penguin. Like you want to make, you are just across the board. Turn off your phone, throw it in the back, right? Lock yourself into exam mode. You are not allowed to talk to anyone else. And the reason my tone's kind of changed here is because they will find you and they will void your score. And they won't even like hesitate. If they know that you cheated, the punishments range from just getting a meet them at the Puffle shop for AP Calc answers. So you want to make sure that if you actually collaborate with someone else and you get caught, not only can your score get voided, but you can be barred from future APs and SAT and CLEP and any other College Board exams. And I've seen it happen. I have seen, not personally, obviously, but I have known people who cheated on the SAT, cheated on the AP tests, and got caught, and they are completely barred from future AP tests now. And I'm making the College Board sound like a serial killer because the Office of Integrity is one sneaky. You don't know how they work. They're like what's that movie? They're like The Predator or whatever, where like you don't know where it is. And it's just like they just come out, they'll get you, and then they'll point like they scare me sometimes because you can see them on Twitter like deleting memes and stuff. It's
They've already caught a student for trying to cheat on this year's exam.
I remember I've heard of this a couple times in a couple instances. I believe it was a kid who was taking AP Physics, from what I hear. Do we know what he did? Because
no, they wouldn't tell us because they're being secretive.
But like what? Okay, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary when you can cheat on your exam 2 weeks before. Actually, this was a couple months ago, a month before it was supposed to happen. So it's like we don't know who it was. All I've heard, I'm sure teachers have heard a little bit more. All I've heard is that there was a student who was taking AP Physics and got caught cheating, and I'm assuming voided and barred from tests. That's
they will be sending names of people that cheated to their colleges too.
The colleges, that's right. So if you are like admitted to a college right now and you cheat on your AP test and you get caught, there is a pretty high probability that your admission will be rescinded. I would give it a 99% chance, unless it's right.
Hey, Dylan.
Sorry.
Dylan, can I say a little bit more on the cheating?
Yeah, go for it.
So 2 things about that more. One, you are allowed to Google things, but again, as we said, you don't have time, but you have to put everything in your own words. If you are cutting and pasting from Wikipedia or from what you find on a Quizlet via Google searches, that counts as cheating too. Everything has to be in your own words. And when they talk about not being collaborating or doing things with other people, again, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, but it bears repeating, that includes shared resources that you have with your teacher, with other students, etc. So if you have any sort of resources that you want to have open, like you make a class-wide crowdsourced cheat sheet for your AP chemistry exam, download it as a PDF if it's on Google Docs. Don't be on the same document as anybody else. Obviously, don't be chatting with them anyway, but like download it. And if you can, have the College Board exam and your Google Doc as the only 2 tabs you have open. You just don't want to mess around.
Yeah, on Google Docs, it's actually really easy to make a copy of a document that's shared in class. If you go to File, make a copy, it'll automatically appear like front center on your Google Drive. Yeah,
it's really, realistically speaking, it seems pretty simple that you should be talking to anyone, communicating with anyone else during the exam. I can guarantee you there are going to be kids who still don't get the message and start texting their friends during the exams. What I'm actually worried about is someone taking a picture of the exam and posting it on Twitter and then everyone being voided. But yeah, it's right. Like Aubrey, you said you're staying away from the AP Discord. Actually, I'll stop talking about this because I've been kind of hogging up all the talking. But the AP Discord, they will, and they did this for all the exams last year. They actually will close down their servers, you literally will not be allowed to talk in their servers for the time the test is happening. In past years, it would be for the 2 days before stuff was released. I don't know how it's going to work for them now. But they are going to close down their servers so that it is physically impossible for you to talk on those days. So don't worry about staying away from the AP Discord server.
Yeah, also Fiveable has a Discord server for regular Fiveable people, and we have a Discord cram server. So we are shutting both of those servers down. Actually, yesterday I believe the admins worked on like different things that we can do to shut down each individual channel and the general channel. Like we have all kinds of security things that we've already been putting into place for the Fiveable Discord too. So don't worry about that. Also, a few things that I've seen in the chat and question and answer. Heina, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. It says, obviously, I'm not going to cheat, but there are so many ways I can reword stuff that I can word stuff like reword. So you could obviously get things from Google and just like reword that. But also, College Board has said they have really sophisticated plagiarism type checkers. So that could mean that if you have a sentence with the exact same syntax as the first result on Google, and what that means is if the sentence on Google said this was a result of the era from 1750 to 1900 in AP World, and you really reword it as this is an effect of the revolutions period of AP World, that's the same syntax. You just change the numbers to the title. They have sophisticated plagiarism checkers is what they've said on that security website. So even if you think you're rewording stuff a lot, the College Board plagiarism checker will probably catch it. Your normal teacher ones might not, but the College Board most likely will.
Yeah, they've said ominously in some of the webinars, like are the people that we're using that we're not going to tell you about, they've been in charge of security for things that are much more important than AP exams. And like
we've got like
so the Secret Service and the NSA are going to be working with them.
We got like the people who organized the Bay of Pigs invasion doing the AP exams this year or something. It's but
a push joke, but it's not in the exam, so no one knows what it is.
Anyway, the Bay of Pigs invasion didn't go perfectly well anyway. But anyway, this isn't an A push stream. Tiana had a good point. If you handwrite your response, that's not a way out of plagiarism. They definitely have like handwriting the text programs and stuff like that to check. So yeah.
Perla in the chat earlier says, if I have sentence stems that I want to fill in, like for thesis writing, is that okay? Yes, sentence stems are perfectly fine, but do not share them with your friends in your class. Don't tell your teacher that you've made these, like put them on a separate Google Doc. Don't share with anybody. You can use like the XABY thesis format for, AP history DBQs, or you can make the, English rhetorical analysis for AP Lang format. You can do, any kind of vocabulary like AP statistics. There are the things with like R%, the variability is described in X by Y. Like you can have all of those things, just don't share them. Don't share them before the exam. And we also recommend having your AP ID and the name at the top of whatever Google Doc, Word doc, like have that stuff prepared ahead of time before your 25 minutes starts. Do that ahead of time.
Better safe than sorry. If you think that there is going to be something that could jeopardize your score, fix it now, not then, right? Even if it means that your friend isn't going to be able to, hang out on your note sheet while you take the exam or use your notes, sucks for them. If it means that it might ruin your exam score, better safe than sorry. So yeah. If you want to move on to the next question, I know I'm kind of scrolling through these.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some good ones. If Caleb has anything to say, we've kind of,
I found one. Kelly, you asked if the CB is requiring a lockdown browser. I know Harrison or Mr. Logware, you answered this. There's no more lockdown browser. My school made us install it, and now it's just sitting on my computer, eating up hard drive space. There is no more lockdown browser. It's all going to be, to my knowledge, in a free browser, like as in like in a untouched, yeah. But again, make sure to get rid of Grammarly if you're on Chrome. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, just in terms of general stuff, we've already mentioned the self-care. We've mentioned the organization of notes. So what should you be doing between now and the exam day? So what are your thoughts on that, gentlemen? What do you think fellow students should be doing between now and exam day?
I think so my advice is I'm going to move backwards here. So I'm going to start day of exam, move back to now. So the day before the exam, don't do anything. Or at least the night before, don't do anything, right? If there's something that you don't know the night before the exam, you aren't going to know it going into the exam.
Besides the entire cram session from 4 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern before the exam, do that the night before the exam, but don't spend time after that. Like, have a bedtime before 10 p.m. Eastern, or if you're on the West Coast, just like go to bed before 10:30, 10, whatever. Get a lot of sleep. Like, it's best, especially if you're staring at a computer screen all day and you have multiple exams in a day. your eyes get really tired and your corneas, like if you've noticed with online school, you're going to get headaches more often if you don't sleep and then stare at a computer all day. Sorry for interrupting there.
No, you're good. Early, you say, what do we do if we can't sleep? Just don't study. Don't spend your time sitting in front of a computer with YouTube videos and books and textbooks. If you want to read a book that you've been meaning to read a book. If you want to play video games, if you want to anything, paint, read, write music, play music, even I know for me, like, I'll just sit on the side of my bed and I'll just play guitar. Just like, I won't even play specific songs. I'll just like screw around. And that helps me de-stress, right? If there's something that you like, do that the night before the exam. In these days leading up to that night, right? I would say practice the exam format, right? Because it doesn't matter how much content you know. If you can't apply that to the exam, it isn't useful, right? At least to getting, the score. So if, you want to be practicing those DBQs for your histories, you want to be practicing the FRQs for every other AP, right? Practice your rhetorical analyses or I think for lit, it's a prose analysis. But so, you want to study that format so that you can walk into the exam comfortable, right? Also, actually, never mind, they'll handle it. Anyway, sorry, I got kind of distracted by the chat. But yeah, is Harrison still here?
He's currently just doing stuff in the chat.
Sorry, yeah, no. Something happened with my camera. I had to fix it.
All good. No, I saw your picture go out. So yeah. Also, Jillian, that's pretty good advice with melatonin. But yeah, don't go, I don't want to go advising anyone to do anything like that. But if you take it and you know what you're doing, be my guest.
And also with melatonin, I'm not a doctor or anything, but like, don't just take 20 milligrams of melatonin the night before the exam and expect to fall asleep, no problem. With melatonin, what you want, I'm not a doctor or an AP bio or anything, but this is just like life advice. If you take melatonin, try to start taking it a few days before the exam every night you go to sleep, like 5 to 10 milligrams max. If you take 5 or 10 milligrams, like the 3 nights before your exam, then melatonin will actually work because it takes time to kick in and it takes time for it to actually produce the content in your brain. Samantha says we now interrupt for a commercial. Does anyone else need some jazz?
In terms of preparation for the exam, I think it's an interesting thing because in terms of the exam, they're all based off of the exams from before. So nothing's really changing in terms of what you have to do, except for the fact that now it's on a computer. In terms of studying content, it's a very subject to subject thing, right? If you ask me for AP World, I would say watch Fiveable, watch lectures, watch Crash Course, all those, right? Freemanpedia, those resources. However, me telling that to an AP Bio student would be a moot point, right? So obviously, hopefully, you've been studying for this whole year and you have some sort of resources established for yourself, right? That is when you, in these weeks, in this last week, right, you want to really be employing that to its fullest extent because now it's to the point where you, words. But yeah, that was a good question because it's interesting that this is such a different situation, but also not so different if you really think about it. So, yeah.
And for studying for subjects, again, whatever subject you're in, it's always a good idea to start big and work your way small, right? Because you don't want to get lost in the forest for focusing on the trees, or in this case, the moss, right? So you don't want to figure yourself out. So if you're doing histories, do it chronologically. If you're doing other ones, organize it thematically and be able to go, okay, here's a big theme. Now let me list everything I know about it and make sure that you're making connections. Because, man, you got to be not freaking yourself out, and you'll be impressed by how much you know.
Right.
Everyone's loving John Green and Crash Course in the comments. Oh, also we have a Steam Heimler and Tom Ritchie lover, so
Obviously,
lots of resources.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else. I feel like I've been talking so much that I feel like I've said everything that I need to say for now. I'll probably be running my mouth later to someone else, but yeah.
So it seems like a lot of people love Tom Ritchie. We do have some old Euro streams and APUS streams from last year if you want to check those out with Tom Ritchie. Stay on Fiveable, get some Olympics points, and watch him if Naomi must love him so much.
Right. I think
about his views on the Civil War.
Oh, geez. I think I did watch his live stream on that once. I was before I even took APUSH, so I knew nothing. And I watched it was the silence, right when the Silent Sam thing happened. And obviously I'm not going to get political here, but I remember the chat just devolving into like it was so much fun to watch.
Like a train wreck. You don't want to stare, but you can't look away.
Exactly. It's like a really bad car crash where you're just like, oh, don't it happened, So yeah.
Any other last minute questions or pieces of advice or things like that?
I'm okay.
Yeah, if you have questions that you put in the Q&A section and I answer them, but you don't think that like I fully answer them, say them again. I know that one person said something about like your friend is taking AP Psych with you. I don't remember exactly what happened, but like email College Board, but make sure you email your AP coordinator too, because College Board has not been accepting and responding to a lot of student emails recently. Like I emailed them about something with my laptop that I asked about, but they haven't gotten back to me. But they got back to my AP coordinator when they emailed him like the same day. So just make sure you reach out to that person and the College Board yourself too.
And if you have specific questions about a specific AP, I would hit up the Fiveable community. You can always just Google things like Google AP European History exam this year or whatever. That's fine. But otherwise, hit up the Fiveable community, the live streams that we're doing for free. That'll be able to cover your subject-specific ones. So in case I see people asking, like, I don't know what mine are going to look like, figure that out soon and get in touch with somebody on Fiveable. We're all here to help you, for sure.
Cameron asked about AP Human Geo. I know we said we wouldn't go subject specific, but I can just answer this right now. It's going to be 2 FRQs. Your first FRQ is going to be 25 minutes with 2 stimulus, and then your second AP Human FRQ is going to be 15 minutes with 1 stimulus besides the upload time. There you go.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's Jade asked a good question. The College Board will email it to you. So they will, the 2 days before your exam, you'll get an email that says, like, here's your testing ticket or something.
Yep.
That is your, it'll be like an 8-digit code. It kind of looks like how in the past you would get these little cards, right? With these little, just.
I have my card.
There's Dylan's number. Everyone use his.
I know. I covered it up. I'm not going to dox myself again on a stream.
I remember that.
People will know that story. But it's kind of like that where you will get a 8-digit code, alphanumeric, it won't be a word. It'll be like J4, W6, Z8, whatever, right? And so from there, you can obviously type that in, and that's how it links your scores to your account through that code. It's a unique code per student.
Somebody asked what the hardest APs are, I think. I don't know.
This is a subjective question.
Subjective, very subjective. Oh, and if you don't get the email with your AP ticket, don't freak out. It will also be on your My AP, like we talked about earlier in the slides. I can probably go find it. myap.collegeboard.org. You can go to your settings in that website, and they will post your AP ID whenever they email it to you too, just in case something gets lost in cyberspace.
Hey, Harrison, can you go to the last slide of the entire presentation that has the link to a lot of important other links?
This one.
Yeah. So that might be something good for people to know about. It's a bit.ly link, so you can just see it right now. Save it later.
Aaliyah asks, is AP ID a constant number? I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it changes. But when it changes, College Board updates your account. I believe that most years when it's regular exams, it doesn't change unless like College Board just assigns you a new number because of some like testing security thing. But usually it stays the same. But this year it's going to be different, obviously, because it's online exams.
I think that covers it.
Maida asks, can I submit through my phone because my computer often freezes? Yes, you can take your exam on your phone. If you do your phone, I honestly recommend by doing the handwriting if you want to use your phone, because then you can take the picture with your phone. Typing on your phone, unless you're like an expert like typer, you spend 5 hours a day on Snapchat, like that's the only time I would recommend typing on your phone. Also, formatting is super hard on your phone, so I definitely not recommend copy paste if you're doing your phone. Like doing a Pages doc and exporting it to PDF might be okay, but like copy pasting is going to be a no for that.
And remember, whatever you submit with has to be the same device with which you access. So if you're reading the prompt on a specific device, you have to use that same device to upload or submit your response. You can't be reading the prompt on your laptop and submit with your phone. You can't be reading it on your phone and submit through your laptop.
Right.
Anita says any pitfalls to note if you're writing a response. Make sure you get your sheet of paper if I can find one. Here, let's take the sheet of notebook paper, for example. Make sure that you write your AP ID and your name and like the top right here and like this big, open area. Say FRQ1 if it's like a 2 FRQ exam, or if you're taking an AP history or AP English, write like MDBQ, rhetorical analysis, prose analysis, whatever. But make sure you have the title of whatever it is, the page number in the corner, and then your AP ID, and then your name right here.
And personally, I think a big pitfall to handwriting is that you can't move things around like you can with typing. So if you suddenly go, oh wait, I want to put in a new paragraph here, you have to do the whole like asterisk or arrows and things like that. It's a lot easier to type, so you can move things around, reformat, quick add something to that sentence. That's, to me, the biggest downside of handwriting.
I think it's important to note also, there are technically length requirements this year. The College Board, I think with photos, they will not let you submit more than 5 photos. So if you're writing a 7-page DBQ, first of all, how? First of all, like bowing you, man. But, if you are writing that much, you are not going to be able to submit it. I believe it's like I think it's actually a 10,000 word limit. And if you're writing 10,000 words, again, what are you doing? But there are technically length requirements. They say, I think it's 10,000 characters, which is roughly 5 typed pages. So be sure to keep track of that type of stuff, because I know there are some people. I know my friend wrote a 7-page DBQ her AP World year. So yeah.
Yeah, 5 pages total. Like front and back would be 2 pages. You can submit 5 pages.
Yeah, and also on this slide we say, and to the 5-bowl AP recommendation guide. So, spoiler alert, tonight hopefully we're publishing a blog post tonight on the 5bowl.me page where you find like your, Quizlet links and stuff like that. We might be posting an AP exam blog post with a lot of the information from this stream, but in like text format, so you can share that with your teachers and stuff. So that might or might not be coming today or tomorrow to your email.
Should be good. All right. Well, gentlemen, we should probably wrap up. It's a little bit overtime, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us and for asking great questions.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Been good. Have a good night. Don't forget that self-care.
All right. Have a good week, everyone. Good luck on your exams.
Bye.